I think us people who lose a loved one, there's a lot of comfort in keeping their memory alive and letting the world hear about them. That it's changed me. It's changed me. And I didn't know great until I saw others be it with me when I was in pain, and I just couldn't settle for just getting by. That's why I believe so much in unlocking your greatness. We get to use our God given gifts when we unlock them to elevate others and to support others.
What is up, Impact Heroes? Welcome back to the show. I'm your host, Rick Ornelas. Thank you for spending some time with us today because we know time's a valuable resource and we're going to make it worth your while. I appreciate each and every one of you, not just for listening, but for who you are. I know you're sparking change to make the world a better place every day, and I am humbled and grateful for your efforts. It takes all of us doing our part to spread positive change, and that's what this show is all about. Motivating you with stories of struggle, courage, and hope to empower you to make a difference in your life and the lives of others.
In case you missed it,
there's so many people suffering that we all need to kind of spark that inner hero.
This was a treat indeed. She is the founder of the Power of Positivity. If you're familiar with them, Power of Positivity has well over 50 million followers across various social media platforms.
Available everywhere you listen to your podcasts.
Welcome back, Impact Heroes. Today we have the pleasure of speaking to our latest iSpark Change social impact hero, and she is a special and unique one indeed. She believes we are all children of God and we're all created for greatness. She's someone who wants you to master human understanding, grow in your faith, practice what you preach, and use your God-given gift of empathy to make this world better. I love that. She knows what it means to honor through love, service, and gratitude, which she does every day as she helps others rise above adversity. She's honest, driven, passionate, and aspires daily to help others grow and evolve as humans and create a life of purpose through service and love. Those are near and dear to my heart as well. She is a licensed psychotherapist with a PhD in clinical psychology and over 20 years of experience. Wow, that's a lot. More impressive than that, she's a devoted wife, loving mother of 4, the chosen mom of an angel, and above all, a woman of faith. Please welcome the authentic, empathetic, empowering, and amazing founder and CEO of Better with Betsy and the faith-based coaching academy. Betsy Guetta. Said that together at the same time. Fast.
I love the intro. Thank you. Thank you. I'm so honored and excited to be here.
Oh, you're so welcome, Betsy. It's my honor to have you on the show. And I was telling you off air how excited I was to have you and knew we were going to have a fantastic conversation. So thank you for being here.
Absolutely.
So you are on the show because you are someone who spreads positive change throughout the world, someone whose actions have a positive effect on humanity, someone that we call on this program a social impact hero. Now that's by our definition, which is actually an acronym, which I can explain throughout our conversation. But more importantly, what I want to know, and the first question we ask all our guests on this program is, Betsy, do you consider yourself a hero?
Of course, I'm a hero. I was created to God's image and likeness, and I do his work, and I'm his vessel. And I believe that God does really great things. So if he created me, I think of myself as being super awesome. I hadn't thought about it as hero, but if that's what you define a person who walks the talk, who is a vessel of God's love and mercy and joy and greatness, then yes, I consider myself a hero.
I love all those descriptive terms that you used, and those I should find a way to work those into our acronym, because our acronym for H is honors their purpose, E is engages their audience in their mission, R is ripples their message to others to spread positive change, and O is opens their heart to the world. So I think you may know that by virtue of who you are, you're already checking all those boxes. and you're already checking all those
I'm
boxes.
a hero. I am totally a hero. So I'm adopting that label.
Okay,
Thank you.
perfect. Perfect. I love it. So every hero has their origin story of how they became, how they're doing the heroic work that they are today. So obviously you have your education, you have your background, you have your PhD, you're a doctor. I should be calling you doctor. Should
No, no, no. I
I?
like
Okay,
Betsy
okay.
better.
So how did you get on that path? What got you interested on that path to helping others, become the best versions of themselves and really wanting to, you know, teach others how to grow and evolve?
So, as you can imagine, a 20-year journey has evolved over the years. When I first chose my career, I believe that therapists and counselors choose their careers, whereas coaches are chosen. And I connect more with as a coach these days than I do as a person like as having a doctorate in psychology, because I love that coaches lived the experience and walked the talk and learned the lessons in their own lives, and then oftentimes then find the words or the book concepts to apply to what they already know and embody. So
Mm-hmm.
that's why I don't use doctor, because I connect more with coaching than I do with doctorate in psychology.
Mm-hmm.
But I incorporate both in the work that I do for sure. So at the beginning, the reason I chose this is because I love people and I see people, and I believe that we were all created for greatness. So I was like, I want to be part of that. I want to help people create that, like unlock that greatness in their lives. And at the beginning, they teach you in school that you don't mix psychology with spirituality and faith.
Mm-hmm.
And I sometimes break rules. So from the beginning,
Sometimes,
I've
only
always,
sometimes. If I asked your husband, would he say that it's only sometimes?
I know, I know. I don't know that he would agree with me. I think he believes I'm a rule breaker. And I I was like, you know what? I'm going to let the client decide. I'm not going to abstain from bringing it into the possibility, because faith, and this is validated by research, is a protective factor. It supports you. So I would always ask my clients, do you believe in something? Do you believe in God? Do you believe in the universe, in the electric power, like whatever? Like, do you
Mhm.
believe in something? And based on their answer, I would incorporate that into our work, because I believe wholeheartedly that having faith in something bigger, greater than you, supports you. So at the beginning, I would sprinkle faith and I would incorporate it when they gave me permission. And people would give me the feedback that I really helped them, but that what they appreciated most about the work that I did was that I brought them closer to God. So I listened to that and I'm like, okay, then let me be more intentional about it. So I changed my branding entirely and now it's all over. Now it's not optional. You want to work with me, you're going to hear about God. If you have different beliefs, if you call it the universe or spirit guides or whatever you call it, I am going to honor and respect your terms individually, but in all my group programs, and I'm free to speak about the Holy Spirit and God and all the things. So I'm going to honor it, but I'm always going to incorporate that spiritual connection because I believe it's really important. And then, so now I'm practicing both psychology and spirituality.
Mhm.
And then 2013, I became the chosen mother of an angel. My daughter, who was almost 3, died unexpectedly in a pool accident. With all of us there, I still don't understand the details and how it happened, because I was right next to her, and I was a psycho mom who was always like paying attention, like doing all the things to protect her children. Like as soon as we moved to a house with a pool, I put her in survival classes, in swimming classes, put a net. So that comes to show how powerless we are of so much, right? Like I think we only have power over ourselves, our lives, our what to do with our thoughts, how to channel our emotions. But other than ourselves, really, I don't think we have much power over. anything else, which is why it's so important to learn the practice of surrender, and why faith to me is so valuable, because when I don't have control, I can fall back on someone who does, and just trust and experience that peace that comes with surrender. But I digress. So coming back to, okay, now I'm a psychologist, and then I'm a, I incorporate faith into my work, and then I lose my daughter. And I know that when people hear me talk about this now, they swear it was so easy for me. But this was the most excruciating pain of my life. Like I could feel the pain in my bones, like it penetrated my body, my being. I didn't think I could be happy again. I I didn't know if I was going to be able to smile. I was so happy. I had like a fairy tale life. My marriage is amazing. Like my kids were so loved and healthy and beautiful and loving. I didn't think I could live without her. I really didn't. The day after losing her, the night after losing her. So I lost her in the afternoon. We spent the entire evening in the hospital. I went back home, and somehow, by the grace of God, I was able to fall asleep that night. And suddenly I woke up, or I found myself, I don't remember waking up. I found myself on the floor of my daughter's bathroom, rocking back and forth like a deranged woman, wanting to rip my head off, because I could not accept, understand, or deal with reality.
Mm-hmm.
And at that moment, I understood, even though I had been practicing for 13 years at the time. At that moment, I understood why people go crazy, like why people are hopeless, why people want to end their lives, because it was so dark and unbearable that you either had to lose your life, or end your life, or disconnect from reality. And at that moment, I an angel came and rescued me, in the form of my husband. Like it literally felt like, the way I see it is like it literally felt like Jesus, like he came floating to the bathroom and just literally carried me back to the bed. My husband is my favorite person in the world. And he he brought light and hope at a moment of darkness.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that maybe some people who listen to us, they may be going through their own darkness, and I just want to pause 1 second and tell you, I promise there's light. When I woke up that morning, the sun was beaming through the window, which I didn't interrupt. I'm sorry, I didn't interpret as a good thing. Like I was pissed off at the sun, because I was like, really? Life goes on, like the sun is shining through, rising to a new day. Like, world, stop. World, stop. Let me grieve. My life just ended. Like, just hold on, wait for me. But the light shines through, and the light comes out, and the same is true for your pain. So if you are in darkness, or someone you know, I promise you, as someone who has experienced darkness firsthand, I promise you that the light will shine through and will always triumph. Okay, I digress again.
Yeah,
So,
that's okay. I love you. I love that you're sharing. So thank you very much.
so then, after losing my daughter, I experienced the work that I did in a totally different light. And I made a decision. I know this now, but I didn't know it at the time. I made a decision the day after losing my daughter, very soon after, right? I was hiding in my walk-in closet with my husband, because we had so many people who loved us, that our house was packed, and we wanted like time and a
Mm-hmm.
space for ourselves. So we're in the walk-in closet sitting down, and the priest who baptized my children and who's a dear friend, came to visit us, and he joined us in the walk-in closet and he sat down with us. He's an older man with a lot of wisdom and love. He like shines so much love. And we trust him. And at the time he sat down and my husband desperately inquired, Father, you've seen this before. Is it possible to be happy again? Can we be happy again? And the priest said, some people are never happy and others are happy again. And my husband asked, what's the difference? And he said, the people who are never happy again are people who believe that the more they loved, the more they must suffer. So they honor through suffering, through
Yeah.
tears. And
Interesting.
the people, so they can allow themselves to stop suffering because that would mean they're not loving enough.
Yeah.
But the people who are happy again are those who choose to honor their loved one through love, legacy, and service and gratitude. And I remember at that moment thinking in my head, I am going to be like those people. I'm going to honor through love, service, gratitude. I'm going to be like that person. Of course, our conversation was over. I looked at myself in the mirror and I was still the grieving mom who couldn't keep her daughter alive, her only job, like who had all this guilt and fear and pain and and and, and uncertainty. Like I was not that person, but I made the decision. And when you said I set the intention. When
Mhm.
you set an intention, you make a decision. And decision comes from the word decidere, which means to remove all other possibilities.
Mhm.
So I realized in hindsight that I set the intention that I was going to be happy again and that I was going to do that by honoring my daughter through service, love, and gratitude. And that's why I'm here today with you. So I made that decision, which changed my life. And then I surrendered the outcome, right? Like it's like God is like a GPS. So when you set an intention, you make the decision, you set the destination, and
Mhm.
then you surrender to the guidance of the GPS. Turn left, turn right, do this, do
Yeah.
that. And ever since I've lived my life that way, and I rose up. I am the happiest woman on earth, Rick. Like the happiest woman on earth.
Yeah. I
And
can tell you are extremely happy.
I have so much joy inside of me and so much peace, even when things are not going great. And I did that because deeply incorporated faith into my process
Mhm.
and now my work. There's no way that after having experience that I can rob my clients or my audiences of the very thing that transformed my life.
Yeah.
So now faith is like number one, and then psychology and coaching skills and all the competence that I've learned through education and experiences, that's secondary. So that's where I'm at right now. And in order to spread the word and tell like the world and elevate humanity in doing so, I created a Life Coach Academy where I teach others how to do that, how to how to master human understanding by learning all the psychology theories and coaching skills, how to connect spiritually so that you can be a vessel of the Holy Spirit or the God within you and support others with divine wisdom and guidance. And the third pillar of my academy is embodiment. So, as they're doing the work to learn how to support others, they're also doing the work themselves. They're integrating into their lives what they're practicing to make sure that you're shining your light even without opening your mouth. Like
Yeah.
people
That
can
you're,
see
yeah.
it.
I love the word embodiment because it really shows that you have to work on yourself before you can help others.
100%. That's why I love coaching so much because coaches have done the work usually before they've learned the concepts.
Yeah. And I thank you for sharing everything about the story and about your daughter. What's her name?
So her name is Veronica, but everybody knows her as Fofi, Fofi.
Fofi. Okay. So I'm sure she is has a big smile and as happy as you are. As happy as you are,
Amen to
at
that.
this very moment. So one thing that I've thought about with traumatic events and challenges that I've had in my life, and I've had plenty, but is that I always try to think of, what's God's greater purpose, right? That I can't have the mind of God. I, can't understand, his thoughts and his ways and everything. And that I try to think of, that there's some greater purpose. I mean, I know my wife and I have had lots of conversations about that, where she's like, oh, well, why would this happen? Why would a child pass away, or some other something tragic like that? And I always just have to focus on faith and say, okay, well, that's just part of God's plan, God's purpose, something like that. Is that something that helped you get through the loss of your daughter, or was it the focus on that I'm going to consciously choose to be positive and happy to honor her, or what, or was it a mix, or what really was it?
When I lost my daughter, I identify as a woman of faith, and my friends tell me that the first thing I said when I started the eulogy in her celebration of life was, I declared, I am a woman of faith. And what that meant is, I'm falling apart, but I am going to be okay. They told me, because everything for me is a blur those days. And what that means to me is, I always knew God was with me, but I struggled with, like, what were you thinking? Like, why would you let this happen? I did my part. Like, well, what happened? And the same priest that later came to talk to me, he was always visiting us. He said, God didn't do this. God is a God of love and mercy. So I think of God as a tree, and if God is an apple tree, he's going to give you apples. He's not going to give you lemons. So if he has only apples of love and wisdom and mercy and forgiveness to give us, because that's who he is, God is love, then how could he give me suffering, right? So he helped me understand that he didn't do that to me. However, once it happened, because life happens, we have free will. We have generationally speaking, like in our intergenerations, all the way back to Adam and Eve. We've made mistakes, and we've created a world that's flawed, right? And that's why these things happen in this world. And so then at that point, my question was like, okay, I can accept that. Why did he allow it? Because nothing happens with God without God allowing it, right? Like, he could have intervened and saved her. There are other people who had near drowning experiences, near death experiences. Why wasn't my daughter near? Right? So then I fought with God all the time. And I think he's okay with that. I think he'd rather us fight with him than disconnect. Right? Like, he wants to hear us.
Yeah,
He wants to be there for us. So I'd fight with him. I remember on my way to work, because I went to work 3 weeks later, by the grace of God, because the work that I did was, listen to people's problems, And on the way to work, I'd be like, what were you thinking? Like, why didn't you intervene? Like, why didn't you save her? Like, I would fight with him while I listened to a song that was very healing to me, which is titled I Will Trust You by Steve Curtis Chapman, maybe. Or Stephen Curtis Chapman, I think that's his name. I Will Trust You. And the song, I could have written that song, because it had my story in it. The song is very, like, sad at the beginning, and he's saying, like, I could die right now. All I want to do is close my eyes and not open them until I'm the other side. Like, and there was so much pain And then the music changes and it's very powerful and it shifts to, but I will trust you. I will trust you, God. I will trust you, even when I don't understand, even when it's so painful. And then there was a phrase of that song that became my slogan, if you will. He said, he sang, your plans for me are better than my own. Like, I will trust
Mhm,
that your
mhm.
plans for me are better than my own. And I believe that. My superpower is belief. I'm a believer. I'm a
Yeah,
faithful person. So
I can feel that.
to believe that.
Yeah,
I've decided to believe that. It's also a decision. And I would fight with him and tell him, I don't get it. What were you thinking? But I'll trust you. I'll trust you. So, yes, I believe that God's plans for us are better than our own, which is why He won't intervene when He knows something is going to elevate us and
yeah,
prepare us for the true life, the true perfect life that He has created for us, that He has awaiting for us. So, yes, that was most definitely one of the things that helped me rise, just knowing without understanding, but just knowing that his plans for me, his plans for my daughter were better than mine, if you can imagine that. That
yeah,
was the main thing that drove me.
yeah, 100%. And you can only we can only connect the dots in looking backwards, right? It's hard to envision all that. I'm sure when you were in the car, are upset and crying, that you can envision a decade later where you have Better with Betsy and your faith-based coaching academy and doing all those things and helping. How many number of people would any of that been a part of your future, right? And so that's in the moment it's always tough to envision that, but I think of people that I've lost in my life, and what is become as a result of that, and just beautiful things, just incredible, beautiful things that who knows if that would have been a part.
No, I would like, yeah, my life would be, I feel like my daughter is like, you know how you can, I want to honor your audience, and I'm not sure that everybody is Christian, but I am. So if you excuse me, like, I would like to, like,
Yeah, please
specifically
go ahead.
share this. Like, I feel that my daughter was the face of Christ, or Christ, an embodiment of Christ in my life, in the sense that I feel she gave her life to save me. Right?
Mhm.
It's a story I
Yeah,
tell myself. I
yeah.
understand, and it's a belief that I've chosen to connect with. I i am i am who I am because she is in heaven. And although losing her was the most excruciating pain, and if I could bring her back, I would, in an instant, the experience of having lost her was the greatest blessing of my life.
Hmm.
I know in my core, I- I've experienced the peace that surpasses all understanding, the joy that cannot be taken away by any external situation in our environment. I know how to live in abundance, even if the numbers are not adding up or making sense. I I live a very full life that I wouldn't have had access to had I not experienced such a pain. And I will say that I also don't miss my daughter often at this point in my life. I should specify, because she's so present. She's so present with me. I think of her every day. I talk about her every day. I feel her every day. My sign is a rainbow, and I see rainbows in my bathtub, in my shower. I experience her love. I've learned how to hug her and love her and caress her and tell her I love you in a spiritual way that I wish I could explain with words, but they don't suffice. So in the end, I didn't lose. In the end, I I only gained,
Yeah.
because she love transcends death, and I continue to be her mom, except she teaches me more than I can teach her at this point. But I am who I am, and I am the happiest woman on earth because I went through that. If you would ask me if I want to go through it again, I would probably remember how it felt and say like, no. But understanding in hindsight and retrospect what it's done to my life, I wouldn't change a thing.
Yeah, and that's a beautiful perspective. Thank you for sharing that, because I think for our audience to see someone like you, that for me, that's and my my sister took her own life at the age of 34, and my mom says that that is the hardest thing that she's, to this day she still says that that is the most difficult thing that anyone can go through. And I agree with her. I agree with her about losing a child, because I've been there with other individuals that have lost children, and even my mom losing an adult child. But and so for you to go through such a tragic and traumatic experience, and to come to the other side, if you will, and say that this has been the greatest thing that happened to you, that it's made you who you are, and created all these beautiful things in your life, and you're happiest person on earth, that shows that that people can use their pain, as I've heard you talk about, and get through their grief, and use it for good and everything. And it really reminds me of what I believe I've heard you say about your purpose is portraying the love of God, because as you described it, your daughter giving her life to save you, as Christ would. That, I mean, that's essentially what we're all called to do, is to live with him in us. Christ who lives in me, and that we're called to love our neighbor, to serve others, to act as he would. So we're called to do that on a daily basis. And then for her to do the ultimate gift of of giving her life, that really speaks to the power of what Christ wants us to, how he wants us to live for one another.
Yes, that is the ultimate goal. I always say that my life mission is to be the face of Christ. And like, so I transferred that, and like, my business is my ministry, my passion. It's where I serve the way I believe God wants me to. And it was hard to say I want to be the face of Christ. I better, better with Betsy wants to be the face of Christ. So in order to describe that, we were like, okay, so our mission is to ignite faith, unlock greatness. If you're connected to your faith, you're inevitably going to unlock your greatness, because you're not going to have to do it on your own. You're going to be guided to it.
Mm-hmm.
And elevate humanity, which is the serving others, right?
Yeah.
So I I do believe, and just so you know a little bit about my daughter at 3 years old, not even, was very special. And I think we all, like all of our children, are special. She just had this grace and compassion to her that were rare in a such a young child. Like my best friend had a child with cerebral palsy, and he couldn't walk. So when they would come play, everybody would be in the playground, in the backyard, and doing all, running around, and she would sit in the blanket with him. And we would go, to a party, and there was a girl crying, and she would like leave me and go, caress the girl and hug her and tell her it's okay, it's okay. So she had this heart, and I want to continue her legacy. She also had this way of, she was a really annoying kid, baby, very annoying baby, like hard baby, reflux. Oh my goodness, crying all the time. It was horrible. So nobody wanted to take care of her. and she like earned their love, like had them as she continued to develop her little character and personality. She just she just earned everybody's love, and everybody fell in love with her, and everybody said in her celebration of life that she made them better. She had this gift, and I want to do that too. I want to be like her when I grow up. So I in everything I do, I really try to honor her legacy through love, service, gratitude, so that her memory can live on. Because I think us people who lose a loved one, there's a lot of comfort in keeping their memory alive and
Mhm.
letting the world hear about them. So that it's changed me. It's changed me. I
Yeah, I
thought
can
I was a
definitely
good
tell.
person, and I didn't know great until I saw others be it with me when I was in pain, and I just couldn't settle for just getting by. That's why I believe so much in unlocking your greatness. We get to use our God-given gifts when we unlock them to elevate others and to support others.
And that's one of the components of being a hero. So without knowing it, I mean, this whole episode essentially, and we could probably talk for a lot longer, but to honor the time of our audience, we'll start to wrap up. But in without knowing it, so one of the questions we always ask our guests towards the end is about a spark moment in life. And a spark moment is a phrase that we've termed on this show, where those are those moments in life where our actions or the actions of another have an impact on us that goes far beyond the initial act, and it's that ripple effect that continues on. So your daughter, your daughter becoming an angel, that's a huge spark moment for you, right? That's probably the ultimate spark moment of any guest that we've ever had on our show. um, and so we always ask an example of, either one, someone that had an impact on you, or that you had an impact on someone that you didn't know right away, but then later you've seen it. So I'm going to ask, usually I give the guest the option to kind of pick, but since we've already established that your daughter is probably the biggest spark moment on you, share an example if you can, Betsy, of and maybe it's all related, but where, because of who you've become and the work you're doing, of a spark moment that you've had for someone else that you didn't know initially, but that you've seen the impact that it had on them over the course of time. And it could be 3 months, 6 months, a year, 10 years, I mean, whatever, but that you've seen kind of that ripple effect of one action to another, to yours that led to another.
I have a lot. I have the blessing of, I love my clients with all my heart, so I always follow up with them, even if we haven't seen each other for years. So I've had the blessing of witnessing transformations through time, and it's been beautiful. But one thing that came to mind when you shared, when you asked, was there was a day that I always had people approach me, because everybody, our community, I feel like Miami is small, like everybody knows each other, and I'm very integrated in our church, and I feel like then everybody who is in our faith like know each other. So a lot of people would come to me and give me a random hug or give me a random gift, and I didn't know them, but they knew about me, and they just were so kind and loving and special. And I remember one day someone saying that they had been able to overcome an adversity without knowing me, without me ever talking to them, because they observed me.
Mm.
And they thought, if she could do it, I can do it. And like this person says, she would literally every day, like she was part of the school that my kids go to, she would literally like like look at me and look for me and pay attention to what I was doing. She would follow me on social media, and she would like just observe. And and I guess that's why I'm so big on embodiment, because I never said anything to support her. I never, she was never my client. I never even knew her.
Yeah.
But she embodied, I mean, she saw the embodiment of hope within me.
Yeah.
I shined that hope, and she borrowed it from me, and she used it to rise above her adversity and her pain. And when you asked, the first thing that came to my heart was, I like, that moment was very impactful for me, because like one of my alumni says, those are blind outcomes. She coins blind outcomes, those that impact that you have on others that
Mm-hmm.
you never have access to, or that you never see or hear about.
Yeah, that was a spark moment. Same thing. Blind outcome, spark moment. Same thing.
Oh, so there you go. So we get to we even when we're doing it for ourselves. That's why the main commandment is to love God above all things and your neighbor as thyself.
Yeah.
It doesn't say that your neighbor at your cost. It says your neighbor as yourself.
Yeah.
And when you do this with you, when you do this work, when you listen to these kinds of podcasts, when you surround yourself by people who elevate you, you are doing it for yourself and those who are watching. And I always thought, my kids are watching, my husband's watching, but I never thought a stranger is watching.
Yeah.
And they are. So that would be the thing that comes to my heart when you ask that.
And that's a perfect example, because it's one that you may never know the impact of your actions, but that's how we change the world. That's how we change the world, by continuing to be happy, to live, help others be better, and all those ripple effects are the ones that God sees them, right? God sees them. He sees them all spread throughout the world, but those are what continue to make the world a better place. So, as I said, we could probably chat for a lot longer, but where can our audience find out about your coaching academy? Where can they find out more about you, follow you, learn more about your work?
So everything is at betterwithbetsy.com. And it's really better with my entire team. It's just that rebranding was a process. But it's better with all of my team members. And betterwithbetsy.com. And then the Faith-Based Coaching Academy is exactly that, faithbasedcoachingacademy.com. I also have a lot of freebies that I can share with your audience. If you go to faithbasedcoachingacademy.com/free coaching, I will coach you for free every month, once a month. I offer this. I have a faith method, which reveals the 5 stages of rising, and what are the 5 psycho-spiritual tools that you can use to rise above any adversity. It can be loss, it can be trauma, it can be any experience that you've gone through that's challenging. So that's faithbasedcoachingacademy.com/faith. So /faith/free coaching, and you can get those freebies, and you can find everything, including the coaching academy, at betterwithbetsy.com.
Okay, fantastic.
Better with Betsy is also my social media, my YouTube, everything.
All right, great. We'll put all of those links in the show notes so everyone can find them. So it's been an absolute pleasure. So I have one final question for you, Betsy, because this is something that we ask all our guests, because our goal at iSpark Change is to positively impact 1 billion people within 5 years of launching our upcoming social impact social media platform. So we know we can't do this alone. We can't have this effect on the community and the world without the help of leaders like yourself, social impact heroes, to show others the way, because many people feel, as I once did, that they're too small to make a difference. So I value your thoughts and opinions as a social impact hero, as you are. We've already clearly defined that from the beginning. So I'm going to ask you to peer into the future, peer into the iSpark Change crystal ball, and answer the question: what can the world become if everyone starts believing that they can create that beautiful future and have an impact on the future?
An ocean. The world can become an ocean. An ocean is mysterious and all powerful and grand and great. And then there's waves. And we as human beings see the waves as separated from the ocean. We're like, oh, I'm going to jump this wave, and there's another wave and that wave. And if we think about it, each little wave is the ocean, right? Where does the wave end and the ocean begin?
Yeah.
But we see ourselves as separate from the ocean. And I think of the ocean as God, like that one with God. So if everybody does their little part, if every little wave realizes that they are the ocean with all the power that assumes, that incorporates, like, then you're limitless, and success is inevitable when you have the ocean backing you up, or you are one with the ocean. So if we all stopped believing that we're mere little waves, and we recognized and declared that we are the ocean, then I think this world would be one with, like, we would be all powerful and all great and just grand. And then for one another, we would be using our gifts to elevate each other and bring them into that body of water that we are already a part of. It's just that we haven't recognized it yet. Not all of us.
That's a super cool analogy. I love the analogy. So thank you very much for sharing that, and what a beautiful world that would be. So thank you for taking your time today to share your heart and your wisdom with our audience, Betsy. You came in, you over-delivered, as I knew you would, as I expected, as I told you at the beginning. Your desire to be impactful is evident. You're filled with passion, empathy, and you lead with a heart of love, service, and gratitude, which tells me that you will continue to have success in all facets of life. And this is only the beginning of your time as a social impact hero.
Thank you. Thank you, everybody. I love you.
All right, Impact Heroes. It's our stories that connect us all, and we loved hearing Betsy's today. Betsy Guetta, you're not only an inspiring and amazing human being, you truly are an iSpark Change social impact hero. We will see you all next time.
Do you want Rick to speak at your event? Here's what others have to say.
Did not know his story, and it was so inspirational, and his presence on stage, his authenticity was just incredible.
Performance made me feel some type of way. My name is Craig Siegel.
If you're looking for a speaker for your next event, hire Rick. I promise you this, you will not be disappointed.
Visit rickcornelis.com to book him today.
Remember, Impact Heroes, every positive action can be a spark moment that has a ripple effect that spreads far beyond the initial act. So go out there and spark change. Don't forget, if you enjoyed this episode, then please smash that 5-star rating on iTunes or Spotify and leave a review. We value your comments, and we want to hear from you in the community. Thank you for listening. God bless you, and we'll see you next week on the iSpark Change podcast.